The Pro Yakyū Spirits, or Pro Baseball Spirits franchise from Konami, has been around since 2004, seeing releases on numerous platforms, including the PlayStation 2, PSP, Xbox 360, Nintendo 3DS, PS3, PS4, Vita, and mobile. Now, interestingly, the game is actually a spin-off of the Power Pro Baseball series, utilizing the same engine with more of a tweaked, realistic look. Now, in 2019, Konami came back from a 4-year hiatus and released Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019 in July of the same year on the PS4 and Vita. Now, at the time of this review, when I'm recording, the game is nearing the end of its 2-year life cycle. But does that mean you should just ignore this baseball release from Konami? That's what we're here to talk about. Danny from the Famicast here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Today, we're taking a look at Pro Yakyū Spirits, namely the 2020 update, on the PlayStation 4, and a little bit on the Vita towards the end of the video. Here we're going to be talking game modes, graphics, performance, and more. Now, typically for this channel, we stick to covering games on Nintendo platforms. However, with my love of the game of baseball and general interest in the sport here in Japan, this has kind of made this game really hard to ignore. Now, I actually picked up both the PS4 and Vita versions of the game in the summer of 2020 for a pretty reasonable price off of Amazon Japan, and let me tell you, I wasn't disappointed. Now, just to note here, like I kind of said just a little bit earlier, I'm mainly going to be talking about the PS4 version of the game throughout this review, focusing on the 2020 roster updates, but keep in mind that the Vita and PS4 versions are actually pretty similar in terms of like modes and like all that type of stuff. Now, jumping right into it, gameplay in Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019 is complicated, but not hard to get used to for simulation sports fans. Now, pitching has players choosing a pitch by pressing a direction on the joystick, and basically then choosing where they want to throw the ball, and then they have to confirm their selection. Now, after the throw is in motion, a circular shrinking prompt comes onto the screen, prompting you to press the button again. Now, if you press it when it's within this small area around the target, you're going to be throwing an accurate pitch. Press the button a little bit too early or a little bit too late, and well, the results, they can be a little bit disastrous. You can be beating a different player or just kind of putting yourself behind on the count very quickly. Now, Spirits is actually very similar to Konami's other baseball offering, Power Pro 2020, in this sense, with the only difference here being the additional gauge at the end of the pitch. While I think it is a little bit hard to get used to, you'll get used to it over time, I think this really adds a bit more challenge to place the pitches where you like. Also, I think it just feels good overall, and it's actually quite a bit of fun. Now, fielding is pretty standard here, so I mean, as soon as the ball is hit into play, you'll take control of the nearest fielder in an effort to make a defensive stop. Throws to the bases are handled with the 4 face buttons, with each assigned a base. It's pretty standard stuff here for a modern baseball game, but it still feels good. Other standard additions here, like being able to throw to the cutoff man from the outfield, diving for the ball, cutting off throws to home, and stuff like this, that's all there. The momentum of the fielders, the throw trajectories, and the animations here, they're all pretty great. And just like I said, there's really not much more to say other than it feels pretty solid and responsive. Now, batting here is deep, and yet still easy enough for players of any skill level to kind of get the hang of it. You could perform a normal swing with X, and an opposite field swing with O, and of course, you have the ability to bunt here. Now, if you press R1, you could switch to a more powerful swing. I mean, the kind of trade-off here is that the cursor goes from a long bat, like an oblong type of a thing, to this, like a very small circle. What this does is that if you hit the ball directly with that very tiny cursor, you have a chance at driving the ball out of the park more so than you would before. All you have to do is just make sure you make contact. And, just with all of this, it feels just right. I mean, you kind of got to know the balance between when trying to go for a power hit and when not and stuff like that. And base running here, it's also a breeze, and I think it's pretty easy to understand. On a side note here too, even with this realistic presentation, as you've probably noticed with the footage right now, you are always able to move past the actions in between the pitches by just the press of a button. If you're finding yourself getting kind of impatient with seeing, the pitchers kind of choosing their pitches or your batters is kind of getting ready, you don't have to worry about that. You could kind of just skip right through that. Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019 is packed with tons of different features and modes. Now, one thing to get out of the way right off the bat. Now, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but although this game is billed as a 2019 game, Konami has made an effort to extend the life of the product by offering a beefy roster update and additions for the 2020 season. Now, as soon as you boot up the game, you can choose from either the 2019 rosters or the 2020 rosters, and then get into the game modes there. Now, I mentioned this in other sports-related videos, but I'm really impressed that Konami actually has the balls to do something like this. Year-to-year changes for sports games are usually minimal at best, with developers seemingly ticking off check marks just to simply show the public that there is indeed something new with their games. But here, with this 2-year cycle, it's not only good for the players, but it's also good for the developers. They have more time to work on the next iteration in the series, and actually have a chance to truly bring something new to the table. It's a true win-win situation for the consumer and for the people making the games. It's just a shame that Western developers will likely never go this route. Anyways, just moving on here, just to list out everything in terms of the modes. So here we have these standard exhibition games, a Dream League, Pennant Race, Star Player, Training, Koshien Spirits, Pro Yakyū Player, live scenario, online play, home run derby, a tutorial, and then you have various options to edit teams, players, and settings like all across the bottom there. Now, while I think most of these, especially like exhibition, pennant race, training, and stuff like that, those are pretty self-explanatory, some of the other modes need a little bit of an explanation. So let's go ahead and start with Dream League. So Dream League puts you in the role of a team manager. Now, after creating the look of your coach, you're then tasked with putting together a team of star players to face off against others in numerous games of baseball. Now, being the manager, you don't have direct control over the players themselves, but rather have to make a handful of decisions throughout games on what you want your players to do or not to do. Now, if you're really into the management side of baseball, this mode might be interesting for you. I know for me personally, while I think it was cool, I'd much rather be playing the actual game myself than sitting there managing it. Now, star player's easy enough to understand here. Here, you take control of one player, either a rookie, a created player, or a player from an existing team, and you basically work on their skills over the course of a season. Now, when games appear on the schedule, you get to play as just that character in a variety of situations. So you'll be spending a lot of time before that in conversations with a variety of NPCs and navigating menus and all this stuff before getting into the action. Now, in my short time with this mode, I took control of the Oryx Buffalo starting pitcher, Brandon Dixon. Now, of course, I got to choose the pitches I wanted to throw, as well as how to handle some simple fielding aspects and stuff while I was in the game. So, I mean, that was pretty fun. Obviously, you know, it's going to play it a little bit differently if you're choosing like an offensive player or somebody that's going to have like more of a, a different position on defense. Overall here, I think this star player mode is pretty fun, and it kind of has you in and out of the game in probably around like 5 minutes or so. It might be a little confusing with all the Japanese, but if you're willing to give it a shot, I think there's a lot of fun to be had here in this mode. Koshien Spirits is a special mode that puts you in the role of a high school student trying to play in the annual nationwide high school baseball tournament called Koshien. Now, here, you'll get checked out by professional scouts, increase your skills, and build relationships with teammates and even girls. Now, the majority of the time, you'll be working your way through menus to help build up your stats, with the occasional chance to actually get into actual games of baseball via short missions. They'll give you things like, hey, get a hit, make an out, etc., etc., etc. Now, this mode is incredibly text-heavy, and while I think you could enjoy it by kind of fumbling your way through, it might be kind of lost on you. I mean, still, there's some pretty fun stuff here. I mean, like I said, you can, kind of go to game centers, kind of spend time with your friends, and there's a lot of dialogue and stuff here too. So I think knowing some Japanese could make it be more enjoyable for you. Otherwise, your hand might get a little bit tired kind of holding a Google Translate up for the entire time of it. Now, the Pro Yakyū Play, also known as kind of live scenario, this lets you play through all of the games in the 2020 or 2019 season as every team in key moments. Protect leads, strike out batters, get hits, blast home runs. No matter the game, there's always some kind of turning point Konami will put you through in this mode. Now, these aren't just limited to regular season games here either. Playoff games and even the Japan series are at play. Now, each mission is also relatively quick, so if you just kind of want to sit down and play through some key moments in some games that you watched on TV or that you just are interested in here, you can do that for a minimal amount of time every day. Now, I absolutely love this mode as it kind of helps capture the drama and feel of Japanese baseball with minimal time commitments. And when it's all said and done, there are definitely more than enough modes to play through and enjoy here in Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019. Just a quick mention here too, I think the home run derby is also a lot of fun, and it's also really quick to get into and stuff here too, so definitely be sure to check that out if you get the game. Otherwise, kind of check out a little bit of footage that I'm showing right now. And the visuals in Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019 are absolutely fantastic. The baseball parks themselves look just like the real-life counterparts, featuring proper signage, field details, and more. The atmosphere of Japanese baseball is also captured perfectly here, pre-pandemic at least, with the chants, flags, horns, people screaming, and a whole lot more. The crowd is also wonderfully detailed with appropriate movement and a realistic look. You even have people like walking around just kind of doing random things. Now the players themselves are extremely detailed and look on par with their real-life players. The animations while batting, home run celebrations, and more are also on point and kind of add to this level of realism. Even small things like the ability to grab the resin bag with your pitcher, which also slightly improves the quality of your pitches as far as I know. This is a really nice touch. Now all of this is also moving at a really smooth frame rate as well, which I think is really important. Now, kind of touching on the audio just a little bit here, the in-game commentary is spot on, called by this three-man team, and like I said, they do a pretty bang-up job. And honestly, just for the sound aspects of the game, the only thing that's really missing from the real experience of Japanese baseball is licensed music that comes on for like the home team players when they come out onto the field. But yeah, I kind of understand and can forgive Konami for not really wanting to jump through hoops to make that happen. But yeah, this is a super, super authentic way to experience Japanese baseball in video game form. Now for the Vita version of the game, players will pretty much get everything that is in the PS4 version of the game. All the modes, gameplay options, all that stuff is here, but obviously it's in this portable package. Of course, the biggest difference here is with the visuals. Now, while I think things look pretty good on the Vita overall, some of the finer details are a little bit more washed out and just less detailed overall when compared to the PlayStation 4 version, understandably so. You know, character models look a little bit more blocky and the crowd is a little bit more static. It's definitely not bad and everything actually plays well too. The biggest shame here is the fact that the PS4 version and Vita versions don't have any kind of cross-platform saves or anything like that, as far as I know. A truly missed opportunity that makes the purchase of both games pretty redundant for many. You know, I was going to get a PlayStation Vita TV to record footage of this, but I did not, because that's not cheap. So please forgive me for some of this off-camera footage, but I hope it gives you guys a good idea of how the game looks and runs on the Vita. Pro Yakyū Spirits 2019 is a fantastic baseball experience overall. It's the perfect encapsulation of what Japanese baseball is and captures the atmosphere here perfectly, showcasing the differences that you'll find between Japan and the major leagues. There's a wealth of modes, the gameplay is solid, and the visuals are stunning. Now, if you're comfortable trying to navigate the pretty difficult Japanese found throughout the experience, you won't be disappointed. Even on the Vita, while it's not ideal, it's still a legit way to actually play this game. And now I want to turn things over to you. Do any of you guys out there have this game? What do you think? What's your favorite Japanese baseball team? Sound off in the comments below. We'd definitely love to hear from you. As always, thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to drop this video a like. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. We've got tons of podcasts, video reviews, special videos, Japanese sports content just like this, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.
まあジャイアンツとしてはリードされて厳しい状況ですけど、ここをしっかり抑えて諦めない姿勢を見せる。打ちました。スタンド一直線。突き刺さった。満塁ホームランが出ました。ジャイアンツ痛い一発を浴びています。初球でした。しっかり引っ張られた打球はファンの悲鳴の中スタンドに入ってしまいました。ジャイアンツ追加点を許します。11対2になりました。ここで一発を浴びてしまいました。